You mentioned in your last answer that you are moneyless, that you don't use money. Can you explain how are you able to live moneyless? Since when? Why have you decided to do that?
So I said I live strictly moneyless last 4 years.
4 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I haven't used money for 4 years now. And I lived before in San Francisco where I first started. So most of 2008 I also lived moneyless, but in the process of coming from Northern America to Europe again, I used money for a while. So then I had a little period of using money, but I would say most people who find it nowadays a bit surprising may just not realize our freedom of choosing how we want to live. So what enabled me to start living moneyless was first realization, oh, we don't have to use this system, we have choice. If we, in practice, we only use money to affect choices of other people, to influence decision-making process of other people, to share something with us, to help us, and so on. But if we can find different ways of organizing our relations, if we can influence each other's decision in a different way, we can share, we can help each other without need for money. So I, at this moment, work a lot with, I specialize in IT, as I said, and I work on supporting development of diverse alternative to monetary system, different ways of arranging our economical relations, so services and goods, how we can share and collaborate without depending on those monetary currencies or monetary currencies in general. So I see nowadays this monetary system have monopolized the economical environment because people mostly use this tool, since I see it only as a tool, very popular tool, but we don't have so much alternatives. Once we have more diversity in alternatives, which again I help with developing, people will see that they can choose what they use in their relations, and I would see money becoming less and less popular, and money only really exists because people use this. It's sort of a system, belief, habit. And once we start using it less and less, I see technically it can become obsolete and out of use very soon because we can choose if we want to continue using that or we want to find different ways to relate to each other.
Can I ask you a specific question regarding specifics? So how do you manage clothing, shelter, food, and other
So the
other
transportation, I guess.
transportation,
Then we can go into health.
medical.
So yeah, health and stuff. So it depends. So it's not. I don't always have all the everything planned ahead. I just say, okay, whatever I do, I will not use money, and then let's see. And I will also do it honestly. So I will not steal anything, don't do anything like that. So I will always do everything honestly and without using money. And then in different situations, I do things in a different way.
Okay.
So often people just share food with me. When I usually don't live alone. I go to places to work together with people and collaborate on projects. We never have relation that I work on something for food. We work together on something because we have common aims, common vision, and then we share the work and we also share the food and so on. Sometimes when I stay in the cities, I go skipping or dumpster diving because nowadays in Western society, so-called Western society, about 50% or more of food goes waste. And often people just after the date ends or in a bakery in the end of the day, because they will bake a fresh bread the next day, they throw food in a dumpster. So sometimes I just go and rescue the food and then cook together. So people have some ingredients, I have some ingredients. So that's on the food side, still improvised. My favorite way, actually the first half a year of living strictly moneyless, I stayed 3 months in a permaculture farm and 3 months in the eco village. And then I was working on the computer part-time on projects and then part-time helping in the gardens, helping with growing and harvesting food. And actually I already work with different networks like community supported agriculture networks, solidarity farming networks, that we can more participate in the process of growing and processing food and don't only as a consumers, because nowadays majority of people just consume food, but also help with producing it. So have this, so people say, prosumer approach. And then once we take turns in producing food, not of course everyone, but those people who feel like, and I find it healthy to don't sit all day in front of computer, but also go to the garden, enjoy the sun, fresh air, and work with plants. For me, it's like grounding and calming. Then we can have the also production process of food more distributed, more localized, and so on. So at this moment, I do improvise a lot, but I work on the ways to have it more also organized and structured.
So, what are the 3 top concerns when you are moneyless? When you are functioning, what at the moment, what are the easiest things for you to get? And what are the hardest things?
So, actually, I wouldn't say that I find things so hard, because again, we have quite abundance of food in this Europe. I don't use state documents. I cannot travel easily outside of certain part of Europe. So in the place where I live, in general, we have abundance of food, we have abundance of clothing, and so on. There's so many clothing. People do like free boxes and free shops, so it's very easy also to find the clothing, as lost if someone's very picky and wants to have the latest, most fashionable clothing. Of course it's different, but if I want to have a clean and warm and preferably some natural friendly clothing, then I have no problem with finding that. With transportation, I usually ride a bike, so borrow a bike from someone. If I go between cities, I hitchhike. There's so many cars driving with just one person and 4 seats. Sometimes people are not so used to hitchhiking, unfortunately, but still I always manage to go. I go all over the Europe last 4 years, only hitchhiking, so there's abundance of transportation still. Even more people could hitchhike. So with accommodation, there's always someone having a couch or someone leaving the room or even the whole flat behind. So nowadays we have abundance of accommodation. I heard some statistics that I think only on Iberian Peninsula people talk about 300,000 empty flats and 50,000 homeless people. So again, statistically we have more empty flats than homeless people. Just the way we allocate resources at this moment, we have some challenges in that direction. And again, with all my work, whatever I do it for the cause, to support in open source fashion, transparent, collaborative. I don't accept any money for it. Everything I work on, I try to maximize the benefit of a general community, commonwealth, and at the same time I feel comfortable that I can also consume resources, and whatever I do, I try to eat organic food, or even if someone buys food, I try to encourage person to get organic food. And also sometimes people invite me to the restaurant and I really don't like it. I hardly ever accept invitation to the restaurant, because for me, when I look at the people who cook in a restaurant and I see how they do it every day, and it becomes like very impersonal and like kind of monotonous, and I would say often they don't enjoy it. And myself, when I cook for myself and other people, I really feel happy that the people enjoy the meal, and that I cooked. I don't do it all the time. Other people sometimes also cook, and I find it very rewarding and like personal and nice to cook for others and share this food. And I see that in the restaurants we kind of make it like very impersonal, very industrial, and I don't want to also create the demand by accepting invitations to a restaurant, so I try to really minimize it. And instead of that, I say, okay, let's get some simple, basic, organic ingredients. I eat vegetarian now. I try to eat mostly vegan as well, so which I also find more sustainable than if people eat lots of meat, because it has different environmental impact besides the suffering of animals, which is topics on its own. So I try to minimize my negative impact, maximize my positive, constructive, supportive impact, and don't get too much stuck in calculations that, oh, I need to give something to the person who offered me food, because we can do it like more taking care of the commons. And also find that often we limit ourselves with staying stuck, that we right away need to like do quid pro quo, like break even, rather than try to like really support as much as we can, and harm almost no harm impossible, or harm the least we somehow manage to.